technology post on Premiere Pro, and I'm going to be talking about how I use Premiere Pro to help my project and what I've learned about the technology. So a bit of an intro on Premiere Pro is it's a post-production software, and it plays a crucial part in our entire film. I've used it before in my Premiere task, The Hunter, which you can find on my blog, and I believe I have good knowledge and I'm no longer at the basic level whilst editing with Premiere Pro. So jump straight in, let's cut to the beginning. And I used exponential fade, which you can find all the effects by typing in here. So just for an example, exponential fade, there we go. And you can place it onto the onto the music track, and it slowly increases the volume to introduce the audience to the film. We made idents and the titles in After Effects, so I don't want to talk about them too much. So I just wanted to make sure that the music was in time with the new titles, and that it wasn't jarring when the cut happened between each of the new titles. So it took me some time using the cut tool and using the select track forward tool to move everything along in time with the music. I used an adjustment layer over the entire piece, as you can see if I zoom out here, over the entire piece, and we placed a colour onto the adjustment layer, which changed the entire colouring of our sequence. I believe this to make the sequence, our film, seem more dark and more gritty, and adds more tension, with the sequences that you're already using low-key lighting become even darker and making everything seem a little bit supernatural. One of the titles had to slow down. I had to use the speed and duration tool to actually slow down and allow the audience to actually read the titles because it was moving too fast. Now you can't see it quite here because my laptop is quite slow at the moment and it's jumping around, but I slowed the sequence down to 70% and it was 100% to slow down for the audience. Another effect I used was the constant power gain, and it was to introduce music to the audience once again, and it was to introduce music to the audience but also to get rid of unwanted music. So if I zoom out here and find the sequence, here we go. So the old music was replaced and the new music was introduced, and we did that by having a long period of time where the music was playing, but because we used a constant power, it was such a low volume that it didn't really become jarring, and it just wasn't very impactful when as soon as it started playing. So it slowly increases the volume. So in fact, the music is actually playing for 10 seconds whilst the other music is just being introduced. It shows how long we made the music play using the constant power. And you can find both of them once again in the effects area. There we go, constant power and constant gain. So another effect we used was just the razor tool, and this was to cut audio feedback, and it was actually our crew talking whilst we were filming, and it was during this sequence right here, and we wanted to get rid of it because it just destroyed the intensity and the tension of the sequence. So I used the razor cut tool, and it made the sequence seem better, and the sound sounded fine afterwards. I used vertical layering a lot during this sequence, and we wanted to make sure that it stayed intense throughout the entire piece. We used vertical layering to add new sounds, and it created a sense of danger throughout the sequence. We added the music layering, and it just showed all the different types of effects that you could use. Here we also used a lower opacity on the sequence so that both shots can be seen together. We started at 70%, as you can see over here, and then went down to 0% so that it's no longer visible. Throughout our entire piece, we used the unlink tool to get rid of audio clips that we did not want. So an example is right here, and if I zoom in, you can see that the actually audio of the sequence is completely gone compared to these other two. And it was the sound of her running up the stairs, which did not sound good in the comparison to the music. It made a loud thud as she ran upstairs, and we just didn't want it in there, so we removed that completely. We used After Effects masking here to place a title onto the TV, but I also used the scale tool to zoom in and out. It was a jump zoom really. So out here you can see it's 100, and this one has a scale of 200. So we zoom in and out. We use vertical layering again, and we love this tool because it allowed us to add more effects. So we have a lower opacity on this shot here, and we have a higher opacity here. We wanted to be able to add a spooky effect as you see both clips together, and it's clear what's actually being said. We took time deciding on the music we wanted for the sequence, the ending part of the film, and we decided that we wanted this complete silence to put emphasis on cinematography and mise-en-scène, and the emphasis on the characters' facial expressions and body language. So I removed all audios by using the unlink tool and to make sure that there was nothing in the background. And finally, I used a new tool that I've never used before, and it's called the Warp Stabilizer, and it makes all the sequence seem more smooth, and there we go, it's over here. And I thought the effect was nice as it made the sequence seem more smooth and less shaky, and it seemed a little bit supernatural and spooky as it zooms out so cleanly, and it makes the sequence a little bit unnatural for the audience. So that was not all the effects, but some of the majority that I found to be new to me and that I learned how to use and how they helped our Premiere project. That was my technology post. Hope you enjoyed.